Welcome to another edition of Frontstretch 5. My name is Caleb Barnes, and I'm substituting for Kevin Nix in this week's episode. As we approach the regular season finale in Daytona, we will spend this Frontstretch 5 recapping 5 dramatic regular season finales. Now, before I begin, I want to note that regular season finale indicates that there's still more racing left to do in the season, so this list does not include the championship season finales from the years of 2003 and before. Number 1. 2004 Chevy Rock and Roll 400. The all-new NASCAR chase began with a bang in its inaugural season in 2004. In the 26th race of the season at Richmond Raceway, drivers had one final opportunity to crack the top 10 in the standings and keep their championship hopes alive. Entering the race, Ryan Newman, Casey Kane, and Mark Martin just barely held spots inside the top 10, while Jamie McMurray, Bobby Labonte, Dale Jarrett, Jeremy Mayfield, and Kevin Harvick all had a chance to play spoiler. For Harvick and Mayfield, they needed a near-perfect race as their only chance to make the cut. Jeremy Mayfield made an early statement, driving into the top 5 while Casey Kane went backwards on the track and in the standings. Mayfield was ahead of Kane for the final chase spot, and as the race continued, it appeared that the final battle for the spot would be between Mayfield and McMurray instead of Kane. When the race wound down to its final 10 laps, Mayfield had his place in the postseason secured as he was running second. But then, leader Kurt Busch had to pit for fuel with 8 laps left in the race.
Hey, here comes the leader! The leader's out of fuel! There you go. Kurt Busch diving in for a stop with 8 laps to go. Jeremy Mayfield is out in front.
And Mayfield solidified his chase position with a walk-off win in the first regular season finale, while Newman bested McMurray by 15 points.
Here comes Jeremy Mayfield. He wins the Chevy Rock and Roll 400. Bobby Labonte coasts across the finish line, and Ryan Newman makes it to the checkered flag and into the chase for the Nextel Cup.
Number 2. The 2009 Chevy Rock and Roll 400. Entering the 2009 regular season finale, Kyle Busch had an interesting predicament. Even with 4 wins on the season, Kyle Busch sat in 14th in the standings, 37 points behind Matt Kenseth in 12th. Outside of Busch's 4 wins, Kyle Busch only had 4 other top 10 finishes the entire season, and his average finish was 16.7. Busch, who won the spring Richmond race and was considered a threat to win this race, faced scenarios where he could win the race and still miss the chase, or he could win the race and immediately become a top seed due to the bonus points he had acquired throughout the season. For much of the race, Kyle Busch seemed to have everything under control, doing what he needed to just barely steal a 12th and final chase spot. But as the race went on, Brian Vickers, who entered the 9th and 13th, snuck into the top 10, and then into the top 5, ahead of Kyle Busch on the track and in the standings. A late caution saw Busch beat Vickers out of the pits, but try as he might in the final 14 laps, Kyle Busch could not get far enough away from the 83 car. Vickers stayed just 1 position ahead of Kyle Busch in the points until he passed Sam Hornish Jr. late to grow his gap and finish 7th in the race, knocking out both Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth from the 2009 chase.
And Brian Vickers will come down and be in the chase for 2009.
Number 3. The 2011 Wonderful Pistachios 400. The magic number for Dale Earnhardt Jr. was 20th. As long as he finished inside the top 20, Earnhardt Jr. would lock into the chase. However, the 2011 Wonderful Pistachios 400 devolved into a wreckfest early on. The first caution flew on lap 3 and the second on lap 8 when Clint Bowyer spun his car in turn 4. The spin seemed harmless until a stack up in the back of the field collected 11 more drivers, including Dale Jr. and Denny Hamlin, another chase contender.
Oh, trouble there. Bowyer spinning around in turn 4. And trouble behind him. About a half a dozen cars going to pile up in the aftermath.
For the rest of the evening, Jr. slid dangerously close to the cutoff as the team tried to repair the car and stay relatively competitive. Now, while points were one of the focuses of the evening, tempers flared throughout the field and led to a number of entertaining moments. The first conflict involved Brian Vickers avenging his teammate Casey Kane after Marcus Ambrose made a dive bomb move that wiped out both Red Bull cars on lap 52. Later, Dale Jr. took exception to a Travis Kvapil bump and spun the 38 on lap 153. Season-long tempers between Kurt Busch and Jimmie Johnson boiled over starting on lap 186 when Busch entered turn 1 with too much speed and spun Jimmie Johnson. Exactly 60 laps later, Johnson fully sent his car back after Busch, sliding sideways to tag and spin the 22.
I got your number. I got your number.
Finally, on lap 308, Clint Bowyer turned into David Rudiman to bring out a yellow. In total, the event saw 15 cautions. Kevin Harvick held off a late challenge from Carl Edwards to win the race, and Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin took the 2 wildcard spots. Number 4, 2012 Federated Auto Parts 400. Kasey Kahne, Kyle Busch, and Jeff Gordon were set to battle for the final 2 wildcard spots in the chase. Kahne had 2 wins on the year, while Busch and Gordon had 1 apiece. Though Gordon started on the front row and led laps early, the number 24 car fell off the pace and down a lap by the halfway point. During a red flag for rain early in the race, Gordon sounded dejected about his night to that point.
It's been a handful. We're working on it. We'll just keep going until the race is over and get everything we can out of it. But yeah, we missed it. It's unfortunate, but a lot of racing left to go.
Now when the race resumed, the 24 team went to work on the car and Gordon suddenly found some speed. A caution on lap 277 for another rain shower got Gordon back on the lead lap and changed everything. A mix of drivers, including Gordon and Clint Bowyer, pitted under this yellow with the hopes that the rain would pass quickly and the race would resume. Other drivers, including Kyle Busch, stayed out and prayed that more rain would cover the track and end the race early. This did not happen, and the race resumed, and eyes turned to Jeff Gordon as he drove through the field, while Kyle Busch slid backwards into the mid-teens. Gordon pitted with 43 laps left and went a lap down, but he went on offense with his sticker tires. While Clint Bowyer was able to stretch his race on fuel, Gordon drove all the way to second place.
He's going to have enough fuel to make it. Checkered flag and the win to Clint Bowyer. Jeff Gordon finishes second and races his way into the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
His efforts knocked Kyle Busch out of the chase by just 1 on-track position. Number 5, 2020 Coke Zero Sugar 400. After spending 2 seasons at Indianapolis, NASCAR moved the regular season finale to Daytona. Entering the race, 3 drivers vied for 2 spots in the playoffs. In his final season, Jimmie Johnson sat 4 points behind the cutoff, which was his teammate William Byron, and 9 points behind Matt DiBenedetto. On top of that, a win by anyone in the top 30 in points would lock that lucky driver into the NASCAR playoffs and occupy another spot. As an evening of intense pack racing wound down, Byron found himself as the odd man out. However, all 3 contenders seemed stuck together in the middle of the pack. Meanwhile, at the front, Eric Jones and Tyler Reddick fought for their ticket to the playoffs as the duo raced to get around Kyle Busch. An ill-advised move by Reddick triggered a major accident with 9 laps left.
Huge run right here. What does Eric Jones do? He helps his teammate.
Tyler Reddick out front. Now Tyler's going to try to block.
He's in the fence.
Up into the wall he goes. The 18 also in the wall. Eric Jones gets caught up in it as well. The big one does happen. The 47, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., McDowell.
All 3 bubble drivers incredibly avoided this wreck.
There's all 3 of the point guys all right together in the middle of this wreck. Look at William Byron. It doesn't get closer than that. Wow.
On the restart, Byron found Bubba Wallace and the duo worked their way forward. Wallace pushed Logano, who went high to low to pass Hamlin. This opened the door for Bubba to stay high. Hamlin tried to duck behind Logano, which turned the 22 into the 43. Hamlin went to the bottom and Byron split between Logano and Wallace after they bounced off each other. It was 4 wide for a moment until Joey Logano lost a tire heading into turn 1.
The 14 up. The 9 out of shape. Here comes the 22. Logano's going to take the lead away from Denny Hamlin. 2 laps to go.
Bubba Wallace on the outside.
Big run. Contact made again. Bubba Wallace sideways. Can he save it?
William Byron. They're ready.
Now the 22 goes around.
Hold the brake, hold the brake, hold the brake.
Caution's going to come out now. Big wreck behind him.
This accident collected Johnson, ending his hopes of making the playoffs. In overtime, Byron took control and held off the Toyotas of Truex and Bell to get his first career win, locking him into the playoffs and allowing DiBenedetto to get in as well.
A win, a secured spot in the playoffs. William Byron's going to win.
Thank you for watching this edition of Frontstretch 5. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment your favorite regular season finale moments.
This is Harrison Burton, driver the number 21. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, check out one of these two videos beside me. Visit frontstretch.com for more racing content.